What's up, y'all? It is Childlike Kate here with a new video, and today I am going to be going into detail of what it's like to work with revature. This is the start of a series of videos. This is the start of a series of videos of what it's like working with revature. So in this week I will be discussing the first week of working with revature. We went through orientation and started training, so if you want to see what that's like, stay tuned. So firstly, they did require that we have our own laptop or computer with a webcam for training. I did see in some other people's videos if they send you equipment to work for them, and the answer is no. You have to provide your own computer. And as I mentioned, it does need a webcam because we are doing our training from home via Zoom, so they want you to be on Zoom where they can see you. Also, there is a dress code, so on Mondays we are to dress business professional, and then Tuesday through Thursday is business casual, and Fridays are just casual dress. Now, I will say that quite a few people do not turn on their cameras throughout the week. Like the first week, everybody was on camera. By the end of the week, people slowly started falling off, like turning their cameras off, or not turning them on rather. And there was actually a point where I got sick during training. I had COVID, so I was quarantined in my room, working from the bed, sometimes wrapped in blankets, so I kept my camera off during that time. And it hasn't been an issue. It's really only important that you have your camera on for things like QC and maybe like your one-on-one. Okay, so my first day with revature was Monday, December 6th, and that day was pretty much orientation for the full day. They started off with telling us about revature and like the history of the company and their mission, their goal, and then we got some important information like who to contact for certain things, HR, IT, blah blah blah. We discussed payroll, which is paid 2 weeks in arrears. So you work 2 weeks, you don't get the pay for those 2 weeks until 2 weeks after the second week. So I started on December 6th. I did not get my first paycheck till, it was scheduled for the 31st, but I think they paid it a day early for the holiday. Also, we do get paid holidays off, the days that are observed as the holiday. So we had Christmas Eve off because Christmas was observed on that Friday, as well as New Year's Eve because New Year's Day would have been observed on that Friday. So I had those 2 Fridays off. We discussed benefits and any other paperwork that might have needed to be filled out, because they did contact us before we started training. Like I was hired a month before my start date, maybe a little over a month before my start date, so I had plenty of time to do the paperwork. They do send it to you ahead of time, so they just went over that to make sure everything was all clear and gone through so that you're set and good to go. And then lastly, before we broke for lunch, we got to meet some of the different teams. So we met people from the QC team, which once a week you do have what's called a QC, and it's basically like, it's to prepare you for interviewing. So they break you into small groups and they ask you a few questions about what you've learned the week prior. And yeah, that's how QC goes, and you need to be dressed accordingly. That's one of the things that you want to have your camera on for, because they want to make sure that you're not like looking around or cheating, like googling information. It's really like a test. And we also met a staging manager, which staging is the period once you finish training and you are doing your interviews. So we talked to someone who is like a manager during that portion of your time to see how it goes. And then we also got to meet 2 employees who just came out of training. They're in the staging process, but they had at the point that we met them, they had just been hired, so they were waiting for their start date with the client that they were hired by, or assigned to, I guess you would say. We got to ask them a few questions and get a feel of how things were going to go with the company so-and-so. There was one guy who was asking all these like skeptical questions where you could tell he was really cynical about the process, and he actually ended up dropping out of our cohort after day 1. So yeah, other than that, we've only lost one other person. I guess he decided that it wasn't for him as well, and he dropped out maybe like 2 weeks in. Well, I say dropped out, I really don't know why he left, but he basically disappeared. So yeah. So our training day is from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. That is with a 1 hour unpaid lunch break. But wait, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's with a 1 hour unpaid lunch break. But you are paid for 8 hours a day, so you're given 1 hour every day that is a free hour, so you can use that before work, after work, or if you want to use all 5 of your free hours on the weekend. It's up to you to decide, but you have like 1 hour extra every day that you're paid to use basically whenever you want. And I really think they do that as incentive for you to study outside of the typical 8 hours, because you are going to need that extra time if you want to truly understand everything that we're learning, because it's so much. It is so much. On the first day, we learned what stack we would be learning. There were actually like maybe 3 or 4 different groups in my orientation, and we were all learning different things. So my particular group is learning .NET. So we're learning C# and then everything else. At first I wanted to learn Java, but I actually watched a video from, I think his name is Sir Pinkbeard on YouTube, where he actually learned Java while he was working with revature, and then once he got on the project that he was assigned to, they switched him to working in C#. So he learned C#. They're very similar languages, and he's been working in C# since. So that actually gave me a little bit more confidence about learning C#. So week 1 was all about the shell. We learned about working in a terminal, Git commands, version control systems, GitHub. We did we built a couple of programs together. The FizzBuzz, which is a common program that people who are learning to code do, as well as a guessing game program. And we did those together. So how the day typically goes is, when we come in, our trainer will start with a demo showing us how to do something, how to code something, whatever we're learning that day. And then we'll get a PowerPoint later which explains what she just did, and like what's the word I'm looking for? We get the concepts. She teaches the concepts of what she just did in her demo. Also, all of these demos and PowerPoints are recorded, so if you ever get stuck or feel like you need to go back and like relearn something, that we have a system where all of these recordings, Zoom recordings, are uploaded so we can watch them at a later time. Our trainer did break us up into groups in the first week, and in these groups she would give us little activities to do. Like, she set up a I guess it was kind of like a scavenger hunt. Yeah, she set up a scavenger hunt on GitHub. So we had to clone that repo to our local machines, and as a group we went through that scavenger hunt, and then we reported it or presented it to the whole training class. So that was pretty fun. On like Thursday or Friday, we learned just a little bit about C#. I think we only just talked about it. We didn't even really like go into any details, but we translated one of our the guessing game program into C# from shell scripting. So you really just had to like Google the C# syntax, and then we actually went into details of working in C# in the next week. Typically every Friday you would have a hacker rank challenge. Because this was the first week, we did not have a hacker rank challenge, but she set up a coding game. The website's called Coding Game. We did an escape room on there together, and we did that in small groups. Unfortunately, I did not get to do the escape room. My mom slipped and broke her foot, so I had to take her to urgent care and make sure she was okay. So I missed out on that exercise, but my mom is actually learning security engineering, so we are going to do the escape room together at a later time. So that was the end of the first week. It actually wasn't bad at all. I had a good time. I came out of the week feeling good, feeling confident, feeling like I knew what I was doing pretty well, and kind of feeling like a leader among my group. Like I could kind of coach other people through issues that they were having. And it makes sense because this is not my first time like taking any courses with programming. And even when we converted our shell scripting program into C#, that wasn't too hard for me because I have programming experience with Java. So I had a good time this week. I felt like it was a good review for me. We did learn a little bit more detail of working in the terminal that I hadn't went through before, so that was helpful. But other than that, it felt like a good review. So I came out of the week feeling good. Now I'm recording this video a month into training, so I can tell you now that that good feeling did not last. It did not last. Okay, I started to get behind, especially when I got sick, but we will talk about that in later videos. So that's my week 1 review of working with Revature. I'm really excited about the journey and what's to come. So if you would like to see how the rest of this progress goes, stay tuned for more videos. Bye.